everybody. We're going to be adding integers today. So let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, what are integers? Well, an integer is actually a whole number. A whole number is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We can keep going, and those are all whole numbers. We don't actually include the decimals, like 1.3. 1.3 is not a whole number. So an integer is a whole number that could be positive and could be negative. Okay? Now, if I take a look at all the integers right here, first of all, I have my neutral number, and then I have all my positive numbers. Then I also have all the negative numbers. And all those numbers are what makes the integer set. Okay? We could also put this all in a number line. We could start with 0, and then I'm going to put all the positive numbers. And of course, this is going to be going to infinity. Then I'm also going to have all my negative numbers. And we can keep going until infinity. Alright, so those are what we call integers. And today, we're going to be learning how to add those integers. So let's go ahead and see how to add them. First of all, you have done this before actually. If I gave you this problem, you will tell me, hey, Mr. Danas, that's really easy. That's 6. Okay, we already know all of that. I'm going to represent that 2 with 2 positives. And I'm going to represent that 4 with 4 positives. And it's very clear that when you add all those together, okay, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 positives. Okay, everybody should know that. It works the same when you have negative integers. For example, if I have 3 negative integers, and I'm going to represent them like this, and then I have 4 negative integers. Since I have a bunch of negatives, I'm just going to be adding negatives. How many negatives do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the answer for this is not just going to be 7, it's actually going to be -7, because we have 7 negatives. So as you can see, when you're adding the same sign, we're going to keep the sign. Okay? Let's do a couple more examples. In here, I'm going to represent that -1 as a negative, and this one with 4 positives. Here's the difference with this problem and the other ones we did previously. What's going to happen when you have a negative and a positive? If you say they cancel each other, you are correct. This negative will actually eventually cancel with this positive. What do we have left? We have 3 positives. So the final answer for this one will be +3. So what is it that we are actually doing in this problem? It kind of seems, or it kind of feels, that we're subtracting even though we are adding. So what happens is that when you add a negative and a positive, you actually have to subtract in your mind. So -1 plus +4 is actually 3. If you were to write 5, you will be incorrect because the negatives and the positive actually cancel each other. Let's take a look at another example. In this one, we have 5 positives and then we have 3 negatives. As you can see on this problem, the positives are going to cancel with each negative. And let's see what we're left with. We're going to be left with 2 positives. Pretty easy, huh? Well, now let's have you try it. What is the answer to A? Okay, let's take a look. If you have 5 negatives, and then 9 positives, here's what we're gonna get. This and this cancels. So will this and this and this and this. So when I add all those together, what I'm left with is 4 positives. If you're kind of getting the idea of this, then the next problem will be a lot easier. What is the answer to problem B? If you answer 2, that's correct. Okay? You have more positives than you have negatives. That's very important. For example, I could give you another problem right here. If I say -7 plus 9, what would the answer be? Would it be negative or positive? If you answer positive, you are right. Notice that you have more positive. If you have more positives, that means the positives are going to win. It's like a battle. The more people you have on one side, those are the people that are going to win. If I have more negatives than I have positive, then my answer will be, if you answer negative, you are right. The answer will be negative. In this case, the answer will be -4. On this one, the answer was +2. Okay? Alright, let's do a couple more. Let's see if we can make it a little bit more difficult, but not really. Alright, in this problem, I have 2 negatives. It's like saying I have all those negatives right there, and I'm just gonna add them together. That's all we're doing. We're in the same side. When they have the same sign, you just add them together. In here, you're going to have -8, and then we're going to bring down this 9 right there. Alright, so now you have to ask yourself, is this answer going to be positive or negative? If you answer positive, of course it is, because you have more positive. The 9 is bigger than the -8. And in this case, when you have a negative and a positive, you're actually going to be subtracting in your mind. So you can say 9 minus 8 is +1. Now I'm going to have you try C. Alright, so let's see if you got the right answer. So we have -3 plus -8. We're going to add all those together. Those are 2 negatives that we're going to add them together. That's going to give me -11 plus +10. Well, the answer in here would it be negative or positive? If you answer negative, that is correct. You have more negatives than you have positive. So my answer will be -1. Remember, when I have a negative and a positive, you actually subtract. Let's keep going. Let's make it a little bit more challenging. We have 5 plus -4 plus -1 plus 4. Probably you're getting this a little bit faster, so let's actually work a little bit faster. 5 plus -4 will be +1. Okay, let's bring the other down. Remember, if you have a positive and a negative, you subtract. 5 minus 4 is 1. What will happen to this right here? 1 and a positive and a negative 1. They just simply cancel out, and you end up with just 4 as your final answer. I want you to try number, or actually letter D. Alright, so let's see if you got the right answer. So negative 7 plus 10. Who's going to win between the negative 7 and the 10? If you answer 10, that's correct. You have more positives than you have negatives. If you have a negative and a positive, you have to subtract. So 10 minus 7, that's going to be 3. And it's going to be positive 3 because you have more positives. Now let's bring down that negative 4. Now notice that you have more negatives in this case. Okay? So 4 minus 3, that's 1. But since you have more negatives, it's going to be negative 1. And then finally, I'm going to add negative 1 plus 2. You subtract again, and then you get positive 1 because you have more positives than you have negatives. Let's do one final one, and then we will be done with this video. We have negative 4 plus 2. We have more negatives than positives. So my answer better be negative. And it's going to be negative 2. It's kind of like if you had this. Negative, 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 and negative. And then you have positives. Remember, they cancel. What do you end up with? 2 negatives. Okay? Let's bring down the negative 3. Those are the same sign. So we're actually going to be adding them together. That's going to be negative 5 plus 6. Now, I have more positives than negatives. So that's going to give me positive 1. That's my final answer. How about if you try E? Alright, let's see if you got the right answer. So in here I have negative 6 plus negative 10. That's going to be negative 16. Plus 5 plus negative 6. Let's combine those two together. We have negative 16 plus 5. We have more negatives, so my answer better be negative. That's going to give me negative 11. Remember, I'm subtracting. Plus negative 6. If I'm adding two negatives together, I'm actually going to add them. My final answer on this will be negative 17. Hopefully you got that. Well guys, that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you guys on the next video.